Promoter Eddie Hearn, here we are. Friday, heading into a bank holiday weekend. What does a bank holiday weekend look like for Promoter Eddie Hearn?
Work, really. Bit of time with the kids. And gearing up for really a big run coming. We head to Los Angeles at the beginning of next week. Of course, Diego Pacheco headlines. At the War Grounds, which is the old StubHub Centre and now Dignity Health. One of my favourite venues in America, and you know why? Because Kell Brook beat Sean Porter there, open air in Los Angeles. Big night for Diego Pacheco and many of our young stars before we head into a super September, I guess, with September the 14th, 13th, firstly in Mexico with Rocky Hernandez against Matisse, September 14th, Canelo Alvarez against Berlanga, September 21st, AJ against Dubois on a massive show at Wembley Stadium for Riyadh season, and the 28th as well. So, and then head into October with Bivol, Beterbiev and much more. So, yeah, this weekend probably the last little bit of rest time before we head into superstar action.
Before we talk about some of those shows, I want to talk to you about the news. Straight off the bat, I don't know if you ever watched Top Gear. You know when Jeremy Clarkson used to win a race and he used to pull that face, trying not to look a little bit smug.
No.
You don't know the face I mean?
No.
Well, I thought you would, to be fair. Anyway, big news, Shakur Stevenson. How excited, how happy are you that you've been able to get this one over the line?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've promoted Shakur Stevenson for years, really, because I've talked about him for years, and I do that. I think that's something that's a bit unusual for promoters to talk about the ability and the potential superstar status of a fighter that's not even theirs. But that's how high I rate this young man. Like, I know my boxing and I know how good this kid is. He may be unbeatable. I know he's a pound for pound star. There's something about Shakur Stevenson's mentality that gives me confidence that he beats everybody. I think he's been massively undersold. I think he should be not just an American superstar, but a global superstar. I think he's edgy. I think he's ballsy. I think he's unbelievably talented. And I'm going to do everything I can to give him the platform and the promotional push that his ability deserves. And, I'm honoured to welcome him to the stable amongst an elite group of global fighters. But for Shakur, the plan is this two-fight plan of Joe Cordina, and if he's triumphant, into the Zepeda fight. And we'll show him during that period our value. We'll work together closely, and then we'll move forward. Gervonta Davis, everybody. I hope this is two fights that lead to the rest of Shakur Stevenson's career with Matchroom. It would be an honour.
When you look at how much the business is changing, what do you like about a two-fight deal with a fighter and being able to work specifically on that?
I think that so many promotional companies want to lock you into like a 3, 4, 5 year deal, and I understand that sort of multi-year deal when you're starting off in the game, but when you're at the level of Shakur Stevenson, firstly, I think a lot of people talk shit in boxing. Some people tell you these people are like that, those people are like that. There's rumours of this and bullshit about that. And it's like, I'm confident that once you work with me, you'll never want to work with anyone else. And if you don't enjoy the experience, no problem. You can go elsewhere. We've got a great business. You're a great fighter, no problem. So for me, when I want to get a deal done quickly and move forward, I don't want to overcomplicate it. There may be fights, I don't think so, but there may be fights that we can't deliver for Shakur Stevenson. And maybe he has to go elsewhere. And I don't want to be the one to disrupt his greatness and the ability to create that legacy. I don't think that'll be the case, and we'll prove that over time. But, for me, this is straightforward. Look, let's work together, let's get it done. Joe Cordina, William Zepeda, then we move on. But over that, what will be, 6-7 month period, we'll show you what we do. I will change your profile. I will make you a superstar. Even in that period, look at Jaron Ennis. I've been working with Jaron Ennis for 5 months? The guy's gone from an amazing fighter that not a lot of people knew about to a superstar of the sport. He's just sold out 15,000 at Wells Fargo in Philadelphia. And this is easy work for me when you've got the talent for like that. Jaron Ennis, Shakur Stevenson, Come on. I mean, look, when I do change their profile and make them massive stars, I'd like to take all the credit. It's just that no one else has the ability to do it, and I do. And it's like waking up and putting a pair of shoes on. It's that easy for me when you've got that kind of talent.
The fight with Joe Cordina, obviously, when you announce a fight, not everyone's always going to be happy with it. I think particularly the American fight fans who probably aren't as familiar with Joe Cordina were a little bit disappointed that perhaps it wasn't a more marquee name at lightweight. Why is this not a foregone conclusion for Shakur Stevenson?
I think this is a really, really good fight. Like, don't forget that before Joe lost to Kakachi, if he moved, Joe's needed to move up to 135 for probably 2 or 3 fights now, right? But when you win a world title, it's very difficult to do that because you're giving up some of your value. It's like Ray Ford, probably shouldn't have boxed Nick Ball because he was ready to move, but you're getting the payday of defending your belt and it's one more. And with Joe, Kakachi was kind of like one more and one more too many. Not taking anything away from Kakachi, even though he hit him after the bell. But for me, Joe has been, when Shakur Stevenson was at super featherweight, Joe said to me, I want the Shakur Stevenson fight. Shakur moved to lightweight. This is the fight Joe's always wanted. Stylistically, it's a great matchup for Joe Cordina, and it's actually a great matchup for boxing. 2 really skillful fighters. I think it's going to be a brilliant fight, and Shakur's a big favourite going into the fight. But Joe, coming off the back of the Kakachi loss, having the extra weight at lightweight as well, it's a proper fight. Like, not being funny, the last geezer that Joe Cordina, Shakur Stevenson boxed, Joe would beat him easy. And probably the ones before that. So Joe's a serious fighter, and props for Shakur, because listen, Shakur's like, when you're matching him, whoever. That's the conversation with Shakur Stevenson. Whoever.
In terms of Joe Cordina, obviously behind the scenes, Ben Davison, obviously Tony's been with him since day one. What have you made of that shift?
Yeah, sometimes, people have a change. I think Tony and Joe's relationship's been unbelievable. They've achieved so much, 2-time world champion. And sometimes, you feel like you need something fresh. Joe doesn't have long left in his career. I think he would admit that himself. So he's looking for the biggest fights and the biggest opportunities. Out
of the 2-fight deal, what other names do you think you could propose for Shakur Stevenson? Obviously, ringside, you filmed it. You captured that moment with Vasily Lomachenko, Andy Cruz potentially down the line. What options do you think?
Yeah, for me, what we do is we go Joe Cordina, William Zepeda, Gervonta Davis. For me, once we've done our work over that 6-month period, Gervonta Davis against Shakur Stevenson will be the biggest fight in boxing. But we make our own moves. We're not chasing Tank, we're chasing greatness. But that comes with Tank because he's an unbelievable fighter. But Shakur can fight, all those people that you mentioned. But also, I think he can move to 140. He can fight Liam Paro. He can fight Devin Haney. But right now, the focus is 135 and doing the job against Cordina, doing the job against Zepeda. And like I said, after we've done our job, Shakur against Tank will be the biggest fight in boxing.
Obviously, we're in Los Angeles next week for Pacheco, like you mentioned. Any plans to have some sort of unveiling to have you and Shakur together?
Yeah, I mean, Shakur is in camp at the moment, so it's only 7 weeks to go till Bivol Beterbiev. But our plan is to have a press conference next Friday in Los Angeles and get Shakur before the media as well. We want to push him as hard as we can, ASAP. And you will see Shakur everywhere. You will see his profile rise considerably. You will see me talking about him non-stop, because that's what we do.
I've got something I want to play you, which is from the man himself. You ready?
In terms of yourself, you and Eddie Hearn, Terence Crawford beat him at darts yesterday. What do you think you could beat Eddie Hearn at?
I could beat Eddie at anything. Eddie can't even beat me in basketball. He like 6'5".
Yeah, so I've just got to be a little bit careful here, because obviously when Terence said I can't beat him at anything apart from talking, I just presumed that I could beat him at darts, because I'm not being funny. An overweight Brit against a geezer from Nebraska, right, from America, pound for pound, but what are the chances that he would beat me at darts? Now, I think I was unlucky that he actually has his own darts league and has spent tens of thousands of dollars on his own tungsten over the years and dart sets. If you would have played me that a week ago, I would have said I will have a one-on-one with Shakur Stevenson on the basketball court. First to, 10 hoops or whatever it is they say, right? And I'll smash Shakur Stevenson. I watched him play the other day, basketball. Oh my God, he's unbelievable. I'm so lucky because if you would have asked me that before, we would have already played basketball and I wouldn't have scored one hoop against him. So, Shakur Stevenson, very similar to Terence Crawford in just good at everything. Naturally gifted and particularly good at the sport of boxing.
But what was that? Was that a yes to? Can we do it next week? Can we set
What,
it
the
up?
basketball?
I think we need part 2.
I'll do
Eddie
it.
Hearn versus
Listen,
the rest of the world.
You lot, firstly you lot, but also you lot in the office seem to take great joy in watching me embarrass myself. Do you know what I mean?
We like wheeling you out. Just
Yeah,
for
I
these
know.
little.
I'm just like the clown that gets wheeled out for some content for you guys. So yeah, wheel me out, embarrass me on the basketball court. I'm up for anything.
Quick one on Diego Pacheco, of course. This fight with Selecki, he sees this really. He's taking this fight very seriously, which he should be. But he sees this as the last fight before the big fights start arriving. When you look how well placed he is, I think he's number 1, number 4. I think at a minimum across 3 of the governing bodies. How do you see after this fight, all going well, of course, next weekend, the next 12 months for this young man?
This is the last one before you get slung in the deep end. I think that's the best way to describe it. And this is the fight where you show us you're ready to be slung in the deep end. A lot of people are talking about our stable at the moment. Jesse Rodriguez, Jaron Ennis, Shakur Stevenson, obviously Edgar Berlanga fighting Canelo Alvarez. Diego, in my opinion, is going to sit with those names of Ennis and Shakur and Benn, because I believe he's going to go on and be a world champion at 168 pounds. And I'm so excited about our stable. Boots in his absolute prime. Shakur Stevenson, 27, 3-division world champion. Jesse Van Rodriguez, he's a baby in the sport. Diego, he's so young. He's got 6 years ahead of him in the sport, and it's a good test against Selecki. A really good test, and it's the one that you come through that with flying colours, you're ready. You're ready for the Munguias, you're ready for the Mbillis, all of those guys at 68 that are ready, and I hope that, all those names that I mentioned are up for the challenge, because don't wait around for Canelo Alvarez. Munguia, you've already boxed him, and Billy, you're not going to get a shot. Let's make these great fights at 168.
If Berlanga was to be unsuccessful in that fight against Canelo, is that still a fight you'd like to make, Pacheco against Berlanga?
Yeah, I think, Edgar's, got a life-changing opportunity where he's making an absolute fortune and he's getting a shot at arguably the biggest name in boxing. So right now, I don't think Edgar Berlanga's thinking about Diego Pacheco or Jaime Munguia or Christian Mbili. He's thinking about Canelo Alvarez. If he wins, he's a superstar in the sport. If he loses, he still has a massive profile and he'll want to be in big fights. If that big fight is Diego Pacheco, I think he's up for that. When you're building a fighter like Diego Pacheco, the easy way to not fight him is say, well, no one really knows who he is yet. He's only young, he's coming through, he hasn't really beaten anybody yet. And that's what people say when they go, he's good. But also when there might not be a lot of money in the fight. So what you have to do is build the profile of Diego Pacheco and make fight fans excited about Pacheco Munguia, Pacheco Berlanga, Pacheco Mbili. And I think we're starting to build that nicely, and I think a good performance in Los Angeles next week will really help us.
Chev Clarke's also on that card. When you look at him and you look at the big fights that happen in the big fights that happen in the cruiserweight division, particularly with Jael Pataya, how long until he's given a chance to maybe be in a monster fight?
So with Chev, firstly, what an opportunity to fight in Los Angeles. I mean, Chev's great. He's very meticulous in his work. We'll have a meeting in here and he'll bring his notepad in, and he really knows what he wants in his mind. I think that this is every fighter's, or should be, every fighter's dream to go out and fight in America. And we're able to do that with particularly international fighters, but also British fighters as well. because of our shows out here. So he gets the fight. He's in a very tough fight next week, Chev. Very tough fight. And he needs to be really switched on in this fight, because this is the fight, for me, Chev's past British level. Like, he would want to win the Lonsdale belt. I think every British fighter should try and do that. But when you look at the options that are available to him, in my head, I'm not really trying to position him for British title defences. I'm trying to position him for a shot at a world title. And if he gets through next week, and when, I believe, he beats those kind of oppositions on that kind of stage, I think he's only 2 fights away after that to fighting for the world title, because who else is out there to beat? Once you've beaten, I'd like to see him fight Riakporhe, or, I'd love to see him get the fight against Callum Smith, Isaac Chamberlain, Jack Massey. That's the one after next week. But then once you beat those guys, there's no one else out there. So Opetaia, I actually quite like Opetaia against Jack Massey. I think it's actually going to be a fun fight, but they're the kind of dangerous fights for Opetaia, because in his head, he's a bit disappointed that he's fighting Jack Massey. He wants to fight Callum Smith. He wants to fight Gilberto Ramirez. So you really got to get yourself up for those kind of fights. And Chev has got to get himself up for, and I'm sure he will be next week, because I promise you, for the other fella, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. So massive chance on a big stage for Chev next week. Get that one, come back, hopefully get a big domestic name, probably one more, and then I want him fighting for a world title in 2025.
Now, before we talk about some other shows coming up, we have to talk about the other news that's just dropped. Obviously, we've been privy to this, being in the office. There's been a lot of cameras floating around. You've been more David Brent than you've ever been before, which is some doing, I think, Edward, to be honest. But Netflix, excited, nervous. I mean, are you having to watch what you say? Are you being, like I say, you enjoying being more David Brent than ever before?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, thank you. Secondly...
Was that a compliment?
No, I was being sarcastic.
Oh.
But secondly, it's a massive opportunity for us. I mean, actually, I'm going to pick up something that this is how long this has been going on, right? So, when I first watched Drive to Survive, for those of you who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, Drive to Survive is the Formula One documentary created by Box to Box, who are our production partners for The Greatest Showman, Matchroom's documentary.
Who came up with that name?
They did, but obviously correct, right?
Oh dear.
And I watched Drive to Survive, and I thought, if we can get a Drive to Survive for boxing, it would be so big for our sport, and I think it would be such a compelling series. So on the 6th of August 2021, Box to Box sent me a note, and they said, I'm sure they wouldn't mind me reading this out. Hi Eddie, we've heard you say a couple of times how much you like Drive to Survive. Thank you. Not sure if you know, but both Paul and James are massive boxing fans. We just made the Kings for Showtime. Got a bunch of things we would love to talk to you about. We are out there making the best, and like you, we want to work with the best. Let me know if we can have a chat. That was 2021. And I went back and said, hi Francis, let's talk. And then they replied, and then nothing happened till January 2023, when we arranged a meeting in Los Angeles. And since then, we filmed a pilot for a boxing style Drive to Survive. And when we sat down with Box to Box, and when we sat down with Netflix, and they started looking at the business and the people in the business and the way they've come through from 15, 16, 17, Frank Smith, Emily Fraser in multisport, Matt Porter in darts, and just looking at the environment here at HQ, I think they were like, this is a mad business. You guys have gone from a cupboard in Romford to one of the biggest sports companies in the world that is probably about to move into IPO and stock market flotation. We want to tell that story. And when they mic'd us up and they started following everyone around, they were just like, this is brilliant. So they came back to us and said, look, rather than just doing boxing, we want a kind of fly-on-the-wall documentary at HQ into, the working life of Matchroom. Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn, boxing, darts, pool, snooker, and it's going to do massive numbers because it's a great story. It's a true British business success story, but it's a little bit parody, and it's very real, and it's quite serious, and it's very dramatic, and it's extremely passionate, and it took us a little bit of convincing to do because, like you're mic'd up all the time. You're at these shows. Like, there's some very serious conversations that go on at these shows.
Are you going to see it before it goes out?
Yeah, we trust box to box. I mean, obviously, you don't want to get into a situation where you're like, Mike, oh my God, I'm just talking about a fight or a fighter, and I shouldn't say it. But at the same time, you've got to be free with it. This isn't an edited show where we're like trying to craft it so that we all look good. There's going to be times where, I mean, this might make you sound surprised, but I might look cringe a couple of times in this.
That would be a massive surprise.
I know, massively. And there'll be others that will probably watch it and go, oh, how embarrassing. But for our stars, for our fighters, for our darts players, for our snooker players, you've got to understand the reach of this documentary. This is a global series on Netflix that is going to do huge numbers, and you're going to love it.
Will you organise your own red carpet?
There should be.
Build a statue of yourself outside?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, there definitely should be. I think this will be airing in, I think they're talking about spring, summer 2025. So let's get the filming done and then onto the red carpet.
Can't wait. Big news, of course, as well. So much happening at the moment. October 12th, the undercard news. I was saying to someone yesterday, when you look at what's happening in boxing at the moment, it's almost like we're already getting a little bit like, could he not have been in a better fight? We're already getting a little bit complacent.
You're a bit like that.
Well, hang on, there we go. You're reversing it to me now.
You have turned into like a hardcore boxing crit. Like you even say about our cards. Oh, could he not have fought? But like, how can you look at October 12th?
I speak for the people.
Yeah, but it's absolutely mental, right? Where you look at October 12th and people go, oh, bit underwhelming. It's like, bit underwhelming. Bivol better. Like, firstly, Bivol better. You'd be within your rights not to have an undercard. I mean, it's probably the best fight in boxing. Shakur Stevenson against Joe Cordina, right? Fabio Wardley against Fraser Clarke. That's a headliner at the O2 on its own. Chris Eubank Jr. against Zepeda. Jai Arpatai, the best cruiserweight in the world, against Jack Massey. Sky Nicholson against Raven Chapman, one of the best fights in female boxing. Another Matchroom Queensberry matchup. Like, it is unbelievable, this card. And we are all a little bit spoilt by His Excellency in Riyadh season, but that is just gobsmacking, that undercard. And even Wembley coming up as well. Unbelievable scenes.
Positive moves, seeing that female fight on a Riyadh season card?
Yeah, huge. I mean, obviously we're very proactive in women's boxing. And His Excellency has talked a while now about staging a female fight. He didn't want to stage one in LA or Wembley because he wanted the first Riyadh season fight to be in Riyadh, not to think that they were going to do it, And he knows all boxing, women's boxing, men's boxing. He follows everything, and obviously, being a Queensberry Matchroom matchup, it was an obvious fight to make. And George pushed for the fight, we pushed for the fight, and we delivered. I think it's a brilliant fight.
What did you make of his tweet yesterday? Bob Arum to Eddie. What did you see?
I think it's just gearing up for the Shakur announcement. He sent me that straight away after, and he was trying to. We were talking through my potential replies, and obviously 5 minutes later was the Shakur announcement. So he's a wind-up merchant, Turkey. He always tells me that he's going to put me out of business. And
do you think he's being serious?
I said to him last night, I said, you always try, I know you want to end me really, but you just can't keep me down. But he probably can, to be fair. But at the moment, the partnership's fantastic. When
you look at the 5v5 and all the success that had, obviously we've seen it previously with the Super Series, but are we not on the cusp of seeing new formats, weighted tournaments to find undisputed champions? Do you see that evolving?
Yeah, but you've got to get the format right. You know, we've seen so many formats in the past in boxing that just haven't worked. I mean, Prize Fight was hugely successful, kind of had its time in that format, although I still think commercially it works. The World Boxing Super Series I thought was a really good format. Ran out of steam, money, whatever happened. The Super Six back in the day, commercially wasn't a huge success, but a great format for boxing. We're looking all the time now. I don't mind being honest with you guys and saying, I'm looking at boxing in this country and all these mega cards that are happening around the world and saying, maybe we need to freshen something up a little bit. You know, is that the way that we deliver the events? Is that the production? Is that the card? Is that the venues? Is that the format? You know, is there a new format to bring in? You know, I was thinking the other day about trying to like bring stars through, not like your traditional Olympic stars, but there's so much great talent that never gets unearthed. Do we have some kind of contender series? You know, what is it? Is it a 1 4-minute round where the winner stays on or progresses to the next round? And it's a deeper tournament, you know, within the realms of boxing, not just the elitist level. I don't know. Like, we're always thinking, you know, I know there's the rumours about the league stuff and, you know, we'll see what happens with that. But we have to keep evolving and we have to keep trying new things. But I think boxing is in the best place it's ever been.
What do you have to say to the UK fight fans? Maybe I can't. What's going on in here with the air? I can't.
Cool.
Everyone's going to say that. I don't know what's going on. It must be the office. But in terms of the UK fight fans, maybe the UK fighters who might be feeling a little bit of unease at the moment in terms of the fights happening in the UK, what would be your response to that right now?
I mean, I don't think that the fights in the UK are changing in terms of the quality of the fights that have been in the UK. The bigger issue is that the cards aren't as strong as the Riyadh season cards. I mean, like, you can't, unfortunately as a business, you can't just create shows that if they lose a few million, it's okay, because we wouldn't be sitting here. So we have to make the business work here, but also we have to just acknowledge and understand that whilst Riyadh season are putting on cards like they are, maybe not all of our cards will be as strong as Riyadh season. But Riyadh season is now part of our schedule, like it's part of Queensberry's schedule and Gold Star's schedule, because we're involved, our fighters are getting the opportunities. It's great for boxing, it's making boxing more popular, it's making more people watch boxing. We've just got to make sure that our cards are strong in the UK, our product is very good, and you know, when you look at what's coming up, with Catterall against Prograis, with September 28, with hopefully Sonny Edwards against Galal Yafai, you know, with other plans in, like, our schedule is consistent with how it has been over the years. But you've now got these supersized 4 shows a year, or 5 shows a year, that are going to be very, very good, and I'm just pleased that we're involved with them.
How is Mr. Anthony Joshua?
He's good. Spoke to him a few days ago. Been a low-key camp of hard work. I'll catch up with him probably next week or when I get back from Los Angeles. And excited, you know, amazing to be returning to Wembley. I'm not sure what time this video goes out, but there'll be some bigger news today about crowd and tickets and numbers, because it's just gone through the roof, particularly over the last week or so. And it's going to be one of the great nights, you know. Very tough fight for AJ. We're all very confident. We're all very emotional, passionate about the fight and becoming a 3-time world champion, and can't wait for September 21st.
You said that Eminem was a big fan of yours. How do you think you'll get on with Liam Gallagher? Have you met before?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure at a show. I met Noel. Noel was on my podcast, BBC Sounds. No Passion, No Point, if you want to listen to it. I thought Eminem was unbelievable. And I'm a big Liam Gallagher fan as well, so looking forward to seeing him perform. He loves his boxing, and like everyone, you'll just be blown away with the whole night. You know, the undercard, the production, the ring walks, the performance. It's going to be a night to remember.
Just a couple of names I want to throw at you. Boots Ennis, what's next for him? Obviously, we've seen news recently in the last few days about Manny Pacquiao maybe getting the Barrios fight. You talked about making an offer for Boots to face Barrios. What do you think of that whole situation?
Yeah, so we've made offers to Brian Norman, WBO champion, Barrios, WBC champion, and Stanionis, WBA champion. All have been rejected. The one that I think has legs, and I saw him and his father come out in the last 24 hours, is Brian Norman, the WBO champion. We've made Top Rank 2 offers now for Brian Norman. Both have been rejected in a pleasant fashion. I mean, not, we get on very well with Top Rank. He posted yesterday saying we made a counter offer. We've not received any counter offer. So Brian, if you would like to make a counter offer, please hurry up and do so. But I want to make that fight. And if Brian Norman has the balls, and if Brian Norman is genuine, Brian, if you're genuine, let's go. Let's speed it up. Let's get this fight made. Because these are the kind of fights we should be making. Brian Norman says Boots is not the bogeyman. He's overhyped. Come on, Brian. If you believe that, let's get this fight made. This is a brilliant fight between two brilliant American fighters. WBO, IBF, unification matchup. Let's get it done.
What do you think of the Manny Pacquiao conversations and him still being at that?
Yeah, I watched his last fights, but look, it's very tempting to make a Manny Pacquiao fight. Was it a year ago or 10 months? We were up for that with Conor Benn. I watched him in the last, I know it was only an exhibition, but for me, I don't think he should be fighting for world titles. But he's still good enough to beat most guys in the top 20, I think. But for a world title, I'm not so sure, and I don't think he beats Barrios either.
Is Turkey Al-Sheikh not interested in making the Crawford fight? Is he the man to make that
Crawford
fight against Boots?
Yeah, I don't think Crawford wants a Boots fight. I don't think Crawford will fight again unless he fights Canelo Alvarez, because he's got money, he's getting on, he escaped one in the Matchroom fight, and I don't think he wants to fight Virgil Ortiz. I don't think he wants to fight Boots Ennis, because I think he's looking at those fights saying they're not really like legacy mega fights. I want mega money, mega fights, or I'm chilled. And good luck to him.
You mentioned Conor Benn. Gone a little bit quiet, actually. What is the latest on that front?
Going quiet is good news. Whenever anything goes quiet, that's generally good news. And hopefully it is, because Conor's in a lot of conversations at the moment. I find it baffling that we're over 2 years deep and he still can't fight again. And you're seeing other fighters get 6 months, for pleading guilty. And I feel like Conor is being punished a little bit for not pleading guilty, because he says, I'm not going to plead guilty because I ain't done anything wrong. So he's fought, he's gone through 3 different hearings now, and it's very frustrating. But anyway, that's in the past. We will hopefully have his fight date locked in soon, where we actually know the date that he can fight, and that's the key. Not the other hearing, not this. We want it resolved. And he will move straight back into a big fight, perhaps at the end of this year or very early next year, but we'll move straight back into a mega fight.
You just announced a save the date back to Monte Carlo, Monaco. Could it potentially be there for Conor Benn?
No. When Conor returns, it'll be a mega fight, and it'll be at the O2 or it'll be in a stadium. And we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of catching up to do with Conor Benn, and I can't wait for him to come back.
We saw Chris Eubank Jr. on Sky Sports News. Do you still believe, in your heart of hearts, we will see Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr.?
Look, the reality is Chris Eubank wants to make as much money as he can, right? Standard. It's the biggest fight for him. I know the offer that he received from us is bigger than the offer that he received, or if he even received an offer, for Canelo Alvarez. Right? So Conor Benn is the biggest fight out there for Chris Eubank Jr. financially. Conor Benn is also a welterweight. Right? If I'm Chris Eubank Jr., I'm swimming the channel to make that fight, because he should be thinking that he beats Conor Benn. Now the reality is, when he gets in there and he faces this kid, man, who has all this emotional baggage of 2 years, coming out with unbelievable spite and hatred, you wait till you see what Conor Benn does when he gets in the ring with Chris Eubank Jr. But if I'm Eubank Jr. and I know the money involved in that fight, oh my God, how he ain't made that fight already, I will never know. But when the time is right And when Conor can fight in the UK, that should be an immediate one that gets made, and I believe it will.
Could that be a potential stadium fight, UK, Riyadh season card, don't you?
Yeah, whatever. Could even be in Riyadh. But we talk about making big British fights. That sells out Wembley, Spurs, everything. Monster fight.
I do want to ask you about a very random fight that keeps popping up on my Twitter timeline, which I think has absolutely zero chance of happening, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Derek Chisora keeps calling out his old mate Tony Bellew. What's going on there?
No, I think that's tongue in cheek. I think it's Derek just winding Tony up. I don't ever want to see Tony fight again.
Who would win?
I think right now probably Derek because he's fighting, but Tony would always fancy his chances against everybody. So a draw. But no.
Sitting on the fence with
it. No, it's not happening.
What have you made of your old mate Oscar De La Hoya?
Are you just trying to string this out?
I'm just going for as long as I want.
Right,
I think. The fans, they look forward to this. They're going to be sitting there, bank holiday weekend, got a barbecue on.
Yeah.
Obviously, they want to listen to you.
Right. Yeah.
Oscar De La Hoya.
What about him?
What have you made of his antics over the last few days?
What, the dancing? Each to their own. I mean, look, I look at it as two ways. Number one, the geezer's having a good time, isn't he? He's well out there. I don't know what's going on with him, but he seems happy. So good luck to him. Obviously, there's the other side of the argument where if you're actually a serious businessman and entrepreneur and you have a corporate image to uphold and you want to kind of behave in a certain way, but that's not for everybody. So I have no problem with Oscar dancing around in a G-string. Thought he looked great, But the only thing that I'm not mad about in Oscar is people don't see behind the scenes. He's not really up for working with anyone, and we should be doing so much more business because we could do 5v5s, but it's not really his style. But on that level of his dancing, good luck to him. I think everybody deserves to be happy, and if that's his way of being happy, good luck.
Well, you've told me I'm stringing it out. So, final message to the people. Bank holiday weekend. What's your message you want to leave today, Edward?
My message is have a great weekend. Hopefully you get a little bit of sun and rest. Get in the gym. Obviously you've seen the change, and everybody's talking about it. And I think just get out there. And I think that it's very easy to get not lost, sometimes lost in life, but just derailed. Do you know what I mean? So every now and again, I had 4 or 5 weeks on the road. And I think it's very easy not to reset. I think every now and again you need to reset. And resetting can be, tidying up your house, can be sorting your clothes out, can be going to the gym, can be writing down your plan for the week. But sometimes you need to reset. And my plan this weekend is to reset. Right? It's just to say, right, you've been 4 or 5 weeks living out of a suitcase here, there, blah, blah, blah. Right, what do we look like for the next 4 or 5 weeks? Because we've got a massive run coming up. So that's my advice. If you're feeling a little bit lost, a little bit derailed, sit down and write down all the things that you want to do this week. As many things as you can. Really menial things as well sometimes. Take the dog for a walk, go to Tesco's, put petrol in the car, go to the gym. All of these things that you can just tick off for achievements. And for me, short-term goals are everything. Because so many people look at medium and long-term goals that never ever materialise because they're not willing to do the hard stuff at the start. So just focus on the beginning of the tasks and the missions and the projects that you have and then go from there. And that was free for Matchroom Boxing YouTube subscribers.
You could charge for that.
Should be really. Should be like a paid podcast or something. Yeah. I'd probably have a different presenter.
No. Oh, I don't think you would. Not for this price. Edward Hearn, David Brent. I'm just going to sit here until you do it. So get out of it.